There are books you read to kill time. There are books you read to pick up skills. And then there's one story that gets passed down from father to son, from older brother to younger brother, from mentor to protege, not as entertainment, but as a code, a blueprint, a standard to live by. That story isn't a self-help book. It doesn't come with a morning routine checklist or a 5-step productivity hack. It's not written by some Silicon Valley bro who sold a SaaS company and suddenly thinks he understands life. It's the Godfather. And before you roll your eyes, because yeah, it's a mob story, it's crime drama. It's got Tommy guns and dead fish and guys getting whacked on the highway. I need you to understand something. The reason millions of men across generations have treated this story like scripture has nothing to do with the violence. It has everything to do with how these men think. Don Vito Corleone, and later, Michael Corleone. The way they see people, the way they see power, the way they see loyalty, family, and enemies. It's a level of emotional and strategic intelligence that most men will spend their entire lives never reaching. And today, we're cracking open 3 of the core mindsets from The Godfather. 3 pillars that built an empire, and 3 lessons that can fundamentally change how you operate as a man. Welcome, let's get into it. Lesson 1. Stop transacting, start binding. The art of obligation. Why the Don refused the money. Let's go back to the most iconic opening scene in film history. It's dark. The curtains are drawn. Somewhere in the background, a wedding is going on, Connie Corleone's wedding. But in his private office, Don Vito Corleone sits behind his desk, stroking a cat, listening. A man named Bonacera is before him, voice trembling, desperate. Bonacera is your classic hard-working American immigrant. He believed in the system. He believed in the courts, in justice, in the American way. His daughter was brutally assaulted by 2 men. He took it to court. And the justice system let those men walk with a suspended sentence. He got nothing. So he came to the Don as a last resort. And then Bonacera made the mistake that almost every transactional thinker makes in that moment. He offered to pay for justice. "I will give you anything you ask," Bonacera whispered. Now here's the thing. Don Vito Corleone isn't broke. He's not running a hustle. He doesn't need Bonacera's money. But more than that, he refuses it. Not just as a gesture of generosity. He refuses it because he understands something that most men in modern America have completely lost sight of. Money is the cheapest currency that exists. Think about that. We live in a culture completely obsessed with the financial transaction. You want something? Pay for it. You need a favor? Venmo someone. You want loyalty? Write a check big enough. We've commoditized everything, including human relationships, and the Don found that repulsive. Not because he was some noble saint. He wasn't. He was a man who had people killed. But he understood that the moment money changes hands, the relationship ends. It's completed. Square. Done. You paid for the service. The service was rendered. You owe each other nothing. That kind of exchange creates no loyalty. It creates no brotherhood. It creates no one who will take a bullet for you. What the Don built instead was something far more powerful, an economy of obligation. He helped Bonacera. He got those men punished, not for money. And in doing so, he said those famous words, "Someday, and that day may never come, I'll call upon you to do a service for me." That's it. That's the whole transaction. A debt of honor, not legally enforceable, not written in a contract. But in that world, and in the real world, if you're being honest, a debt of honor is worth infinitely more than a financial contract, because it's backed by something money can't buy: gratitude, respect, and the weight of a man's conscience. What this means for you. Right now. In corporate America, in entrepreneurship, in professional relationships, we've been trained to keep everything clean and transactional. Invoice sent, invoice paid, we're good. But the most powerful people you'll ever meet, the ones who seem to have doors open for them that are locked for everyone else, the ones who always have someone in their corner when things go sideways. Those people are not playing the transactional game. They're playing the obligation game, and they're doing it through generosity. Think about the guy in your office, your industry, your circle who's always the first to help, who refers business even when there's nothing in it for him, who shows up when someone's struggling without waiting to be asked. That guy is building something invisible but incredibly powerful, a network of people who feel indebted to him. Not in a manipulative, sketchy way, in a human way, the oldest human way. When you help someone during their hardest moment, when the whole world has turned their back on them and you show up, that person doesn't forget. You're not just a contact in their phone. You're a person they would genuinely go out of their way for. Maybe for the rest of their life. That is soft power. And soft power, the kind that's built on real relationships, on genuine care, on delivered value before you ever ask for anything, is the only kind of power that bullets can't touch, recessions can't erode, and betrayal can't destroy. Stop leading with, "What's in it for me?" Start leading with, "What can I do for them?" Build your emotional bank account with the people around you. When the moment comes, and it always comes, you won't need to beg anyone for help. They'll already be running towards you. Lesson 2. Keep your enemies close. No closer than that. The serpent in your pocket. If Lesson 1 is about warmth and generosity, Lesson 2 is its cold, razor-sharp opposite. And it's the lesson that most men get completely backwards. The famous line, "Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer." We've all heard it. We've probably all nodded at it, but very few of us actually live it. Because living it requires a level of emotional discipline and strategic thinking that goes against every natural instinct a man has. Here's what normal guys do when someone wrongs them, competes against them, or tries to undermine them. They cut that person off. Block on Instagram. Avoid them at parties. Talk about them behind their back to mutual friends. Ghost them out of the circle. And I get it. It feels good in the moment. It feels like justice. It feels like you're protecting yourself. But here's what Don Corleone understood, and what Michael Corleone had to learn through devastating personal loss. When you push an enemy into the darkness, you lose sight of them. You feel safe, but you're actually walking blind. You've taken your eyes off someone who still has their eyes on you. And while you're busy celebrating the fact that you cut them off, they're quietly sharpening their knife in the corner. Distance creates the illusion of safety. Closeness creates actual intelligence. The lesson of Michael and Barzini. Keeping the serpent in the room. Let me paint the scene. Sonny Corleone, the eldest son, the hot-headed warrior prince of the family, has just been massacred at a toll booth, shot to pieces. It's the darkest moment in the Corleone family's history, and everyone knows who's behind it. Barzini, the rival, the enemy. What does a lesser man do in Michael's position? He declares war. He goes scorched earth. He rides out with the boys and sends a message. That's the emotional response. That's what testosterone and grief tell you to do. Michael did the opposite. He swallowed his rage whole. He put on the most convincing mask of a man in American cinema history. He sat down across the table from the man who had his brother killed. He shook Barzini's hand. He smiled. He floated the idea of selling off the family's casino interests, of stepping back, of being willing to negotiate. He played weak on purpose. This wasn't cowardice. This was emotional discipline operating at a level most Navy SEALs couldn't maintain. This was Michael understanding something so fundamentally true about power. The battlefield belongs to whoever has the best information. And by keeping Barzini close, by maintaining communication, by playing the role of the subdued, tired heir who just wants peace, Michael forced Barzini to make a move. Barzini needed to arrange a peace meeting. And to do that, He needed someone on the inside, a go-between, a traitor. Before Vito Corleone died, he sat down with Michael and told him the one thing he needed to know. Whoever comes to you to arrange that meeting, whoever tells you they can set up a reconciliation with Barzini, that man is the traitor. Think about how profound that is. If Michael had cut off all contact with Barzini the moment Sonny was killed, if he'd done the emotional, reactive thing, Barzini would have had no reason to send an intermediary. The channel would have been dead. Michael would never have been able to identify the mole. But because Michael stayed in play, stayed close, kept the game going, Barzini had to move. And he moved through Tessio. Tessio, the old-timer. One of his father's most trusted captains. A man who'd been with the Corleones since before Michael was born. A man who seemed as loyal as concrete. The moment Tessio pulled Michael aside and whispered about a peace meeting, Michael felt his blood go cold. But his face didn't move, because he already knew the answer. By keeping the enemy close, the traitor had been forced to reveal himself. If Michael had blocked, if Michael had ghosted, if Michael had done the reactive, emotionally satisfying thing, Tessio would have remained a loyal uncle in Michael's mind forever, and the blade would have come from a direction he never saw. Applying this to your real life, in your career, in your business, in your social circles, you will have people who dislike you, compete with you, undermine you, or straight up try to sabotage what you're building. Your instinct will be to cut them out. Don't. Keep them where you can see them. Stay polite. Stay professional. Let them follow your social media. Wave when you see them. Grab coffee occasionally and ask how things are going. First, intelligence. You need to know what they're thinking, what they're planning, what stories they're telling about you. The only way to gather that is to maintain the channel. An enemy you've cut off is an enemy operating in total freedom. An enemy you're still friendly with is an enemy who thinks they have you fooled, and that overconfidence makes them sloppy. Second, perception management. When you stay close to someone who's working against you, you control what they see. You can project weakness when you're actually strong. You can look distracted when you're actually laser-focused. Let them miscalculate. Their bad intel is your advantage. Third, and most importantly, personal development. The ability to smile at someone you genuinely cannot stand, and do it convincingly, without letting the mask slip, is one of the most difficult things a man can train himself to do. And it is training. Every time you choose emotional control over emotional reaction, you're getting stronger. You're widening the gap between stimulus and response. That gap is where real power lives. Don't hate your enemies. Study them. Understand them. See them as pieces on a chessboard, not as targets for your rage. The Don put it simply: never hate your enemies. It clouds your judgment. Hate is fog. Cold understanding is a floodlight. Lesson 3. Family is the reason, not the reward. The sacred ground. You cannot afford to lose. If the first two lessons are tools of power, tactics for navigating the world of competition, alliance, and conflict, then this third lesson is something entirely different. It's not a strategy. It's a purpose. A man who doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man. Don Vito Corleone said that, and I want you to sit with it for a second, because he didn't frame it as advice. He didn't frame it as a life hack. He framed it as a definition. He was telling you, this is the line. On one side of it, you're a man. On the other side, regardless of how much money you make, how much power you accumulate, how many people respect your name, you are something less. The Don at home. Here's what's remarkable about Vito Corleone. As a character. On one hand, he is a ruthless, calculating crime lord who has ordered violence without flinching. He operates in a world of blood and betrayal and absolute brutality. But the moment he walks through his front door, he becomes something else entirely. He dances at his daughter's wedding. He gets down in the garden and chases his grandson through the tomato plants, like a big kid. He weeps, openly, shatteringly, when he sees Sonny's body. He doesn't bring the weight of business to the dinner table. He doesn't make his wife carry the stress of his world. He creates a boundary between the battlefield and the home that is as hard as iron. For Vito, the family wasn't the reward for all his success. The family was the reason for it. The whole machine, all the power, all the alliances, all the strategic maneuvering existed for one purpose: to protect and provide for his people. The money, the power, the respect. Those were tools. His family was the mission. The tragedy of Michael. When the mission becomes the machine. But here's where Puzo's genius truly reveals itself. Because The Godfather doesn't just show you the ideal. It shows you what happens when a man loses sight of it. Michael Corleone starts out as arguably the most morally intact person in the story. He's a decorated World War II veteran. He's the one Corleone who wasn't supposed to be in the business. He was going to have the clean life, the civilian life, the American dream without the mob attached to it. He steps into the darkness to save his father, to protect his family. His reasons are pure, but somewhere along the way the mission became the machine. The family became the organization. The love became the strategy. Michael becomes colder, more calculating, more willing to sacrifice everything in service of the family name, even the actual human beings who carry that name. He orders the death of the men who orchestrated attacks on his family, then the heads of the other families, then his treacherous brother-in-law. And in the most gut-wrenching moment of the entire saga, Part 2, one of the greatest films ever made, he orders the death of his own brother Fredo. His older brother. A weak, foolish man who made a terrible mistake, but still, his brother. Michael had confused the institution of the Corleone family with the people of the Corleone family. And the final image of Michael in Part 2 is one of the most devastating images in American cinema. An aging man sitting alone on a stone chair as autumn strips the trees bare around him. Empty eyes, complete silence. All of his enemies are dead. He has won every battle. He is the most powerful man at any table on earth, and he is completely, irredeemably alone. His wife has left him. His children are strangers to him. His brother is dead at his order. His closest allies have been buried or exiled. He achieved total victory in every external war while suffering total defeat in the only war that actually mattered. His empire was built of gold and felt cold as ice. The real lesson: the balance that makes you a man. So what does a man do with this? You go out there and fight. You have to. That's not optional. The world is competitive, it's unforgiving, and if you don't show up and compete, your family will suffer for it. You need to be sharp, strategic, and relentless in building your career, your finances, your future. But when you come home, you leave it at the door. Don't bring the battlefield to the dinner table. Don't take out the stress of a brutal day on your wife and kids. Don't make your family feel like they have to compete with your ambitions for a slot in your schedule. Don't be the guy whose kids are strangers because he was grinding when they were growing up. Don't be the guy whose wife looks at him across the table and feels like she's married to a ghost. Because here's the brutal truth. If you lose the home front, every victory on the professional front is meaningless. What are you building it for? Who are you building it for? Men in this country have been sold a lie by hustle culture. The lie goes, sacrifice everything now, and you'll have time for the people who matter later. Grind in your 20s, be present in your 40s. Skip the little league games, make it to the big moments. There are no big moments. There are only small moments accumulated over time that become the fabric of a relationship. And when you're absent for thousands of small moments, you don't get to buy back that fabric with a family vacation or a holiday bonus. The Don knew this. He protected that table ferociously. And when you look at what happened to Michael, The man who didn't protect it, you understand exactly what the stakes are. Be present. Be home. Turn down the drinks with the guys sometimes. Skip the optional networking events. Put your phone in the drawer. Eat dinner with your family like it's the most important meeting of your day, because it is. A man who provides financially but is absent emotionally and physically hasn't fulfilled his role. He's automated the easy part and outsourced the part that actually matters. The home is sacred ground. Protect it like one. Closing. The legacy of the Godfather. When you close the book or finish the film, what stays with you isn't the body count. It isn't the violence. It isn't even the power. It's the image of a man, flawed, complex, operating in a world with no clean answers, who had a standard, a code, 3 pillars that held everything together. With allies and friends, value loyalty over money. Build relationships through generosity, not transaction. Create bonds that money can't buy and time can't erode. The man who gives first asks last, and always has someone in his corner. With enemies and rivals, never push them away in anger. Keep them close, watch them carefully, and control what they see. Use your composure as a weapon. The man who can smile at his enemy without flinching is the man who controls the room. With family, never confuse the mission with the machine. Never let the pursuit of power become the purpose itself. The home is the reason. Protect it, be present in it, and understand that no external victory can compensate for losing it. These aren't just lessons from a mob movie. They're a code for navigating life as a man in a world that is complex, competitive, and sometimes brutal. When you help a colleague before you ask for anything in return, even when there's nothing immediate in it for you, you're thinking like the Don. When you stay professional and composed with someone who is actively working against you, instead of blowing up and burning the bridge, you're thinking like Michael at his best. And when you turn down a night out so you can put your kids to bed, eat dinner with your partner, be present in the place where it actually counts, you're doing something rarer and more powerful than anything else on this list. You're becoming a man worth following. You don't need to run a crime family. You don't need a compound in Long Island or a seat at a table in Little Italy. You need these 3 ideas running at the core of how you operate every single day. The Godfather didn't just give us cinema, he gave us a mirror. And the question he's asking you, right now, through all of it, is simple. Who are you looking at when you look in that mirror? A man with a code, or a man who's just reacting? A man who builds loyalty, or a man who buys compliance? A man who protects the home, or a man who's too busy to notice it falling apart? The world doesn't have a place for men who run from hard answers. The seat at the head of the table, in your business, in your household, in your own life, belongs to the man who looks the hard truth dead in the eye and doesn't blink. Live like the Godfather, not to become a criminal, to become the king of your own life. If this hits something real in you, if some part of this woke up a piece of you that's been asleep, do me a favor right now. Hit subscribe. Seriously, do it before you close this tab. This is the kind of channel you'll want in your feed. We go deep on the ideas that actually shape men, not surface-level motivation. Not the hustle bro content you've heard 1,000 times. The real frameworks, the hard truths, the kind of content that makes you sit back and actually think. Drop a comment below. I want to know, which of these 3 mindsets are you already living? And which one is the one you know you need to work on? Be honest. The conversation in the comments is half the value of this channel. Share this with one man in your life who needs to hear it. Not your whole contact list. One person. The guy who's grinding but losing sight of his family. The guy who keeps letting his enemies live rent-free in his head. The guy who's good at the transaction but terrible at the relationship. No caption needed. He'll know why you sent it. And if you're new here, welcome. There's a whole library of this kind of content waiting for you. I'll see you in the next one. Leave the gun, take the cannoli. And while you're at it, take the lesson too.